Okay, we're up to question number 9. A telephone recording tells callers, alright, let's just go through the answers. Sometimes it's best just to read the answers. What time the movie starts? What time the movie starts? That actually sounds like the right answer. A telephone recording tells callers what time the movie starts. Yes, that is the correct answer. This is actually a noun clause. So this is actually the object of this sentence. It's telling the callers something, telling the callers it. And a lot of times, if you want to test it, you can take the word it and replace the noun clause to see if you have it. Let's see, a telephone recording tells callers it. That's correct. Well, let's look at the other answer choices, just in case you chose one of the other ones. B, what time starts the movie? Now we have a verb, subject, and this is not necessary here in this noun clause. C, this is a common pitfall, a common trick that they do here. What time does the movie start? And this is not a noun clause, this is actually just a question. And just to show you the difference, there it is. What time the movie starts, that's a noun clause. Can be used as a subject or an object of a sentence. What time does the movie start? That's just a question. So C is out. That's a very common trick. D, the movie starts. What time? That's almost like just someone speaking. The movie starts. What time? And that's not going to work. So the best choice actually is A on number 9. Okay, let's move on to number 10. The people of Western Canada have been considering themselves from the rest of the provinces. Alright, so let's just go through the answers. The people of Western Canada have been considering to separate. That's not going to work, and we're going to see why in just a second. Considering to separate, not good. Let's go to B. The people of Western Canada have been considering separated themselves. Nope, that past participle is not going to work here. We have this reflexive pronoun. Nope, this is not going to work. Let's go to C. The people of Western Canada have been considering separate or separate themselves. Nope. So we're left with D. The people of Western Canada have been considering separating themselves from the rest of the provinces, and that is actually the correct answer. This was a little bit tricky. You needed to know that considerate or consider takes a gerund if you're going to add a second verb. So there it is. Consider separating. You should consider doing something. So in this sentence you actually have 2 gerunds in a row. It may have thrown you off. If you weren't quite sure about this verb, it may have looked strange. And in fact, I can think of an example where you could actually have 3 gerunds in a row. And here it is. John is considering quitting smoking. And here this smoking gerund. This smoking gerund is actually a noun. Quitting is the secondary verb to considering. So 3 gerunds in a row. It can happen in English. It does look confusing if you are not quite sure, but that's it. 3 gerunds can happen. So in this situation, the choice is D. Okay, let's move on to number 11. It costs about $60 to have a tooth. Let's take a look. A, filling. It costs about $60 to have a tooth filling. If you consider filling a noun, which is what they do if you have a cavity in your teeth, it costs about $60 to have a tooth filling. Or maybe it should be it costs about $60 to buy a tooth filling. Just playing devil's advocate here. Let's take a look at B. sometimes it's good just to read through all the choices, and remember the idea is to find the best answer. It might not be the only answer that sounds good, but you have to kind of go with the best answer. B, it costs about $60 to have a tooth to fill. That kind of could be to have a tooth to fill, a tooth to put something in. Yeah, it could grammatically work, but it's a bit strange. Let's check out C here. It costs about $60 to have a tooth filled. And that is the correct answer. It is C, and I'm going to show you some examples. Here we go. Very common structure in English. It costs money to do something. So it costs, it could be money or maybe time, and then an infinitive of that action. So it costs money to do something. It takes time to do something. Infinitive once again. And then to have someone do something that may or may not imply that you paid the person to do the action, but you're definitely not the one doing the action. You're asking someone to do the action. So to have someone do something. I had my friend fix my car. Maybe you paid your friend, maybe you didn't. So very common structure in that sense. But this example is a little bit different. It costs $60 to have a tooth filled. So we have that infinitive, but we have this thing with this past participle. So what's that all about? Well, let's take a look at that example. And I'm going to show you another example. So I want to have the company clean the carpets, and that's sort of the setup we were showing in the previous three examples, to have something, to ask someone to do something. I want to have the carpet, or I want to have the company clean the carpets. But another way to do this, it's a little bit faster. I want to have the carpets cleaned. So that implies that you are getting some company, or maybe your friends, but probably you're paying some company to clean the carpets. So you're actually just adding a past participle after the direct object, after the thing that you want to have the action done to. And then you're still using that verb have, just like you did up at the top here. So this example is very close to this example. You're kind of using a past participle. You're not talking about the dentist here. If let's see, it costs about $60 to have the dentist fill a tooth. That would be similar to this example, but they have excluded the dentist. So they've kind of gone with this example. So that's why it's choice C. It should be the past participle. That works perfectly there. To have the carpets cleaned, to have the windows washed, to have my hair cut, to have a tooth filled. And that all works. So keep that pattern in mind. It comes up quite a bit in written and spoken English. Okay. 12. Number 12. Not until a student has mastered algebra, the principles of geometry, trigonometry, and physics. And I think we saw this before. We saw this same pattern. Hopefully you've recognized it. Pretty sure you've recognized it. It's our negative clause. Remember the example back on number 6. Magellan never completed the first circumnavigation of the world, and neither did most of his crew. So hopefully you've remembered that this is a negative clause. Not until a student has mastered algebra. So what's the form? It should be the question format. And which one's the one that looks like the question format? It's B. can he begin to understand? It looks just like a question. It looks just like, can he begin to understand? But in this context of the negative clause, it's not a question. It's simply the syntax that must be used with this situation. So it has to be choice B. I don't think we even really need to look through the other examples to fix this one. Okay, so it's B. Negative clause, starting, we need to have the question format. And that is about all I have time for on this video. We'll come back and we'll finish up 13, 14, and 15. See you in the next video.